I'm the Talking Skull, and this year I'm playing classic first-person shooters to draw a line from Wolfenstein 3D to Halo. This week, Turok shows off the brand new Nintendo 64. With complete control of your character, you can explore every corner of Turok's world. Turok moves smoothly, climbs realistically, and is able to jump great distances. This smacks of a game that's been playtested to death at every level. Did we play the same game? Turok is a cool tech demo, and a bad game. The first N64 shooter, Turok debuted the newfangled analog stick for players the world over. With shocking prescience, Turok assigns movement to the C buttons and camera control to the analog stick. This is, for all intents and purposes, a modern control scheme, and that's the first time I've been able to say that about any of these games. The analog stick means that Turok can have fully free camera look. 9 months after Quake, we finally see someone grasping at the power and freedom of Carmack's most recent engine. Even though you could fit a full pregnancy between Quake and this, the feature was still cutting edge enough that the newborn baby Turok felt novel in the hands of N64 owners. No, buddy, don't eat that. But like all newborn babies, Turok is uncoordinated and falls over frequently. Turok fails at a fundamental game design concept made famous by Shigeru Miyamoto, the toy principle. Miyamoto insisted that his games should feel good to play even in an empty level, that they should be toys the player can enjoy before ever presenting a challenge. Miyamoto most famously used this principle to nail Nintendo's first attempt at 3D platforming with Mario 64. Turok, on the other hand, feels sluggish and awkward. There's this shadow of a wind-up to Turok's forward movement that's hard to see, but it keeps him from having the kind of get-up-and-go that Quake or Duke Nukem had, and it makes you feel like the only real dinosaur is you. This sluggish movement hurts the most with the game's ever-present platforming. It's common knowledge today that first-person platforming is difficult, and that precision jumps don't really work with such limited spatial awareness. But somewhere along the line, we did have to learn that, and boy, does Turok drive the lesson home. Instant death pitfalls are everywhere in Turok, and you don't need me to tell you how terrible this looks. On top of that, the awkward acceleration to your movement means that it's hard to predict exactly how far you're going to jump. The difference of split seconds meaningfully changes the arc of your jump. It's a recipe for frustration and pointless deaths, at times completely taking over the game with this awful, janky, finicky, stupid,
no good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating.
But Turok was one of the first true 3D shooters, and to the game's credit, its use of 3D is, in spots, quite good. Turok's movement abilities include all the innovations of previous titles, plus this nice climbing feature. In terms of design, it doesn't really add anything that couldn't be accomplished with an elevator, but it does mean we don't have to justify jungle elevators. We, do have jungle teleporters, but no jungle elevators. Animations in Turok blow the competition out of the water with groundbreaking motion capture. Mocap was still a new technology, rarely seen outside of fighting games like Virtua Fighter and Soul Blade. Remember Quake? Now we have this. Remember Disruptor? Now we have this. And these animations get brutal. Adding novelty on top of novelty, Turok was the first M-rated game made for the N64. Spurting blood and writhing bodies lend a satisfying meatiness to your carnage. And in the wake of Doom and Duke Nukem 3D, the M rating almost certainly helped its sales in a genre that already had a reputation for depravity. On the other hand, all this good character animation is dropped in the middle of these big, barren fields. At the time, the graphics and aesthetic of Turok were praised, but even in comparison to Disruptor, I have to say, this does not hold up. Turok sacrifices a lot of detail in exchange for these large, open rooms, and the result is big, ugly, and samey. The first two zones are completely indistinguishable from each other. What do you mean, level 2 jungle? This whole game is a jungle! Even later levels often don't have new assets, just more distinctive layouts. More importantly, the encounter design is terrible. These complex models and animations tax the N64, meaning Turok usually can't handle more than 2 or 3 enemies at a time. This, combined with the big, open levels, means there's very little room for interesting encounters. Most combats are just walk into a big empty room, shoot whoever's standing out in the open, repeat. Turok lacks the tools like unique room layouts and environmental hazards that allow for more creative setups, so things get bland fast. Let me show you what I mean. Here are the first 3 encounters in Doom. Keep in mind that Doom came out 4 years before Turok, and we'd seen a dozen games iterate on Doom's design since then. First, you shoot this guy at the top of a staircase. Enemies hiding behind pillars ambush you when you walk up. Drop to either side and the staircase blocks line of sight to the other guy, allowing you to take a safe 1v1 around the pillar. Next, you open a door to find these soldiers on a stage in the center of the room. Drawn to the spotlit stage, you enter the room and are ambushed by flankers at the door. Once you kill them and collect the goodies, you hear more enemies milling around nearby. These goons can wander out from backstage to surprise you, or you can round the corner and find them yourself. Finally, you spot these mobs at the end of a narrow, jagged path. You're likely to shoot them from here to avoid this obviously unhealthy goop. While you're doing that, off-screen imps shoot projectiles across the doorway, giving you a chance to see how the projectile behaves and cluing you into the imp's presence. Once you take out the ground enemies, you step out onto the narrow path and attempt to dodge the imp's projectiles without taking too much environmental damage. Romero utilizes geometry and enemy positioning to make every room play out differently, and this is only the first few minutes of Doom. Now, let's take a look at the first 3 encounters in Turok. First, a single melee guy runs toward you in a large, open hallway. You can stand still and kill him before he even reaches you. Next, in another large, open hallway, a sequence of individual melee mobs approaches you one at a time. You can stand still and kill them before they ever reach you, and you never get more than 1 at a time. And third, you run down a hallway and turn a series of corners, shooting the singular guy who was standing in a wide open space. Rinse, repeat. Turok's most interesting encounters barely scratch the complexity of Doom's first level. When they do try to get creative with encounter design, we get stuff like this. Ah, a beautiful angel sent by God to end my suffering. Or this boss. For N64 players at the time, Turok would have been mind-blowing. Remember, most of these kids wouldn't have had a gaming PC, so they wouldn't know Doom or Duke Nukem 3D, and certainly not Quake. The idea of a rated M, fully 3D, first-person shooter complete with vertical camera control definitely melted the developing brains of at least a few thousand kids to whom every word of that sentence was a revelation. As a tech demo, Turok was phenomenal. As a game, it falls flat. If this old stuff is interesting to you, check out the rest of my series on first-person shooters to see what I had to say about Quake and more. And if there's anything you think I should cover, leave a comment so I can see. This week, things got pretty bloody. Next week, they're getting even bloodier.